John Frost looked on the gathered crowd, now 3,000 strong. With heavy heart, his voice rang loud as he sang this loveless song. God is a guide from field, from wave, from plough, from anvil, and from loom. We come our country's rights to save and speak a tyrant faction's doom. We raise the watchword liberty. We will be free. For when the rising tide is turned in every London quarter, Parliament comes crashing down with Robert's Rules of Order. And bobbies took an oath to be our nation's warders, swearing that they would enforce Sir Robert's Rules of Order. Till Newport rose a million friends who rallied each supporter to join this flood of working men against Robert's Rules of Order. For when the rising tide is turned in every London quarter, Parliament comes crashing down with Robert's Rules of Order. Like this, on the steps of Parliament, John Frost stood proud and tall. A hush fell on this great event as he told them one and all, depose the gentry and the crown, depose the House of Lords, or join the Queen in exile by Robert's Rules of Order. Socialists, Luddites, Communists, recall each faithful martyr who died so you could have your new world. Robert's Rules of Order. Say it loud, vote your favor, shout it high. All in favor, you say aye. Favor, aye, favor. Aye. A mandate of the people's cry. Favor, aye, favor. Aye. Let's hear the opposition side. Like a stubborn donkey's bray. All opposed, you say nay. Opposed, opposed. The motion carries anyway. Currents change and bring to us our dear corrupted warder. In chains subdued and ill-abused, he's left with no supporters. Mobility's will can then proceed by our own rules of order, and we'll all cheer for country's sake when Robert's drawn in quarter. For when the rising tide is turned in every London quarter, Parliament shall be reborn with Robert's Rules of Order.
Oh, I needed that animated GIF from my other show. Okay, we got Mike on. Sorry we're late. I'm gonna shit talk Mike a little bit before I bring him on. It's because he doesn't have a Mac. You know, he just couldn't connect. Okay, Mike, I'll bring you on now.
Now that we've got the bullshit out of the way, the real reason is because the computer had to flash its BIOS with some updates that had been postponed several times.
I'm trying to get now. Here I am shit talking. I can't get my microphone, my headphones to work. Talk again. Okay, hold on. I gotta see what's going on here. I mean, it's okay through
me having technical difficulties.
It was working before I rebooted. But let me see here. It says...
That's crapple for you.
Why is it... I've been having... It's actually, these headphones aren't so great. I buy the cheapest pieces.
See, here's the difference, folks. She has a crapple. It was working. She rebooted. Now it doesn't work. I have Windows. It wasn't working. I rebooted. It updated. And now it works.
Well, I might just have you on the speaker. I'm going to try another second here, though, to get the power on. Okay, it's working.
Yeah, it always helps to turn it on. Yes, it really does.
Well, it was on before, but I turned it on and off. Have you tried turning it on and off again? And that worked. This headset.
Good old Can's axiom.
So, this kind of came up the other day a little bit. You know, we're always so random. You never know what's going to... Because for you guys, so that you guys know how we plan these shows, we really don't. Mike and I just send random Roberts references to each other and go, look this up. It's interesting. And we don't really talk about it. We're like, let's do a show on it. So everything is pretty contemporaneous. We talk for like 2 seconds before we go live.
And the rest is all improv.
It certainly is. So whether we're going to agree, disagree, but what I'm going to say here it kind of came up during the LNC meeting last time, but I would have loved to have seen you get reelected to the JC, but I'm now glad you're not in the JC for different reasons.
So am I.
Yeah. And those different reasons are, now we can shit talk all we want, when before I really had to respect the fact that you were in this more, you know what I mean, in a type of position where you had to be more neutral, and I wouldn't put you in a bad spot. But now we can shit talk.
I was in a forced ivory prison. Yes.
Yeah. So, did you stay through the LNC meeting to that last part?
I bailed out right at the closing announcement, at the adjournment part.
Oh my God.
Was that meltdown that happened after the fact?
Yeah, Austin Martin had a psychotic break. It was
I saw the clip later.
It was the weirdest thing. I mean, you could see it on my show. And the like supernatural hatred these people have towards Bill Redpath of all people. It's like, Bill, I'm sorry, you really are, something has gone very mentally dysfunctional with you if the target you has picked is Bill Redpath.
Well, I got to be fair here. Okay, I've known Redpath for better part of 20 years, okay? And he had some missteps in the past, aligning himself with some people that he shouldn't have. But those people are long gone, mostly. And he has moved on to areas that he's better at dealing with things than what he was. And he's done well at that. So credit where it's due. And it's like, really, guys, come on.
And also, just getting it out there, I've aligned myself with people I shouldn't have. So that's just the party, you know?
It happens.
Crap, I forgot what I was going to say here. And what they're going after Bill for has nothing, they don't even know that history you're talking about.
They don't.
It's nothing to do with that, because they actually probably would favor it because it was a line. Maybe.
I'm not even sure if you know the whole story.
I probably don't. I mean, I know about the cabals of before. You know, if ever anyone thinks these like the Mises faction stuff is anything new, it really isn't. When I joined in 2016, it was the tail end of what people were calling the Star Chamber and all of that stuff.
That was one of the ones calling that from the get-go.
Yeah.
But what I'm referring to has nothing to do with the Star Chamber, although except in the auxiliary matter, it goes back to the Holy Rights situation way back in 08, 09.
Yeah. You know,
that's a long time ago.
Yeah, and things change.
It was before Martin. It was before Martin was came out of his coma into his drugs into psychosis in the kindergarten.
Yeah. And Jack asked, "Are the claims against Bill Boston true?" There are so many claims. I don't know what which one you're talking about, but we're not. I'm going to say, yeah, and I'm going to say that. I don't know if there's one thing that could be picked out of there that could be true, but I could tell you the whole arc of it is not and is defamatory, and we're not going to defame Bill Redpath on this show.
No.
Bill Redpath is a dear friend of mine, and it isn't because we agree ideologically. Mike would say that, would know, like, Bill's a moderate. Bill is like so moderate, and I'm such a flaming radical that Bill and I ideologically, I'm not friends with him because we agree ideologically. I'm friends with him because I think he's been great for the party, and I like him as a person.
Credit where it's due. He has done a ton for the party. And for the meant for HVAC soldier, that's star with 2 R's, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. And Bill, I'm going to tell my Bill Redpath story. When I was on the LNC with him, was it in 2016, way back.
Yeah.
When Bill speaks, people tend to listen because he doesn't really talk that much. He has a lot of opinions, but he keeps them in. He doesn't talk a lot in LNC meetings, but he certainly feels a lot during LNC meetings. In person ones, when I would go, I'd always love to sit next to Bill because he'd be listening, and he'd be listening. But in order just to keep calm and chill, he'd play solitaire a lot of the time, and he'd be white knuckling it when something really stupid was being said. Bill would be like this, and I'm sitting next to him.
In the past, he would mutter under his breath.
Oh, Alicia Matson used to mutter under her breath all the time, even at Aaron, when Aaron was going off, because Alicia also is a person of few words. And I'd be sitting next to her, sometimes she'd be like, So, and anyway, Austin had a psychotic break, and it was I'm a big supporter of Evan. Everyone knows I did not care for the way he handled that meeting. And I know the after meeting's a little bit different. It's still party property. It's party property. You do not allow people to behave like that. You do not allow outright slander of a fellow LNC member. It's a bit different when party members sometimes spout off. It's a lot different than what's expected of a seated LNC member. And I am very disappointed in the way Evan handled that meeting, particularly because the meeting before he handled so good.
The funny thing is that, okay, I was listening in on your, I guess, pregame, for lack of a better way to describe it. And then I bailed out of there for the meeting itself because I had some public comment. And of course, we know what happened to me with the COC and all that stuff. But during the meeting itself, for the most part, at least off the get-go, he was behaving himself. And in a couple of cases, he got out of the line. And then I bailed out at the end with the closing of the adjournment because, let's face it, I had to get to bed. I got stuff to do the next day.
No, and it was pretty much.
And then I guess whatever happened with the meltdown happened after that. I saw the clip later, and I'm going, this must have happened afterwards.
Well, and he started to lose it a little bit during the meeting because he didn't like the way the votes were going.
Yeah,
and I'm just
let's be real. Mises got shut out on the votes for the audit committee and the COC,
and they have no position to complain, none at all, no position to complain. I was just like Darvo, Austin Martin. Now, do I know if the non-Mises members are coordinating votes or anything like that? That's natural. It happens. But I have no idea. But
if they coordinated votes for me, I have no knowledge of it because all I did was I put in the application, I made my quick pitch, and that was it.
I don't think they are. Because I have conversations with LNC members, and I pay a lot of attention to subtext and clues as to what's going on, and I actually don't think so. Austin just can't take that the Mises candidates aren't popular.
Uh-huh.
No coordination required. If there was coordination, you wouldn't have had Doug Neville voting for all of the candidates in one of the races. You saw enough deviations that there wasn't coordination, in my opinion.
And to me, that's also is also kind of a punt. But what my disappointment was that Susan Hogarth didn't vote for me. But that's just the way it is.
Things,
Yeah.
It
is. That's business. It ain't personal.
If I say I don't respect a vote, I want to make it clear that it doesn't mean I don't respect the person. It just means I don't respect their vote in that circumstance. People who voted for all of the candidates, I don't respect those votes. I think that's a complete cop-out. And I respect someone who will vote someone that I don't think is the right candidate, but at least they have the courage to go. You could tell everyone was deer in headlights. And another reason this wasn't coordinated is that Evan saying this wasn't going to be an OPA vote, you could tell was a shocker to all of them. And they did not like the fact that they'd have to sit there in the meeting and out loud with their full chest say their votes. Now, I don't like OPA vote. I want to see them do that. Because you need to have courage to be in those positions.
And if you're going to vote for all the candidates, you might as well just vote no.
Just abstain. Just abstain.
Yeah, or abstain. It's the same thing, effectively.
Yeah, no. That's not doing a service to any of the candidates. Not only do I not respect that vote, I think it's disrespectful to the candidates.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're done with our LNC commentary. Now we're moving on. This is tangentially related to LPCO. And I think we have to.
You're missing something, though.
What?
You're missing your little friend in the corner of the screen.
Yeah, I don't have that camera set up right now,
No,
but
not Lucy.
oh, oh, no, Bunchy's not on this one.
Oh, he's not?
No, Bunchy's only on Pink. This is
Oh, okay.
in the Ecamm setup. This is like a whole
I'm
different
so used to
studio.
seeing him all the time. I notice when he's not
Yeah,
there.
yeah, no, this is a whole different. It's hard to explain in
Yeah.
Ecamm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is tangentially related to LPCO, but I do think the background context is necessary. And just like I'm going to criticize what I think people that I support on the LNC
What's up with you guys' Twitter feed anyway?
don't even get me started.
I think I
It's
just did
if you go, when were you looking at it?
a couple days ago.
Yeah,
And
it's
then Kyle was like,
all
what the hell?
it's not like that right now.
Okay.
They deleted the problematic posts. What else they're doing, I can't tell you. I'm not going to say I can't tell you because I know and it's secret. I can't tell you because I don't know. I'm just not that involved in Colorado. But those posts were not the views and opinion of the board, and they are no longer there.
Okay.
Now, what internal discussions or actions are being taken to keep that from happening again? Or why someone with those views that are, because you want to know this, I'll come out and say, volunteers make
Whoops.
mistakes. It
You
happens.
froze me up in there.
Oh, so volunteers make mistakes. It happens. But those views that were expressed, those are the actual views then of that volunteer. And when they start, caterwauling about leftist infiltrators, you know what I have to say to the LPCO board? You giving the Twitter keys to people, someone who's attacking, it's not just attacking other libertarians. You want to know who they're attacking? The fucking LPCO board. Those are the leftists that was being attacked. The call is coming from within the house, brother.
This is
But
crazy.
it's not me. It's not my business. So the posts aren't there. That's fine. Whatever else they do. Or don't do. I don't know. Okay. So, but moving aside from that Twitter hot mess, if you look at the feed right now, though, it's all about candidates and it's really good.
Which is what it should be right now.
Yes, is what it should be. Shouldn't be Austin
That,
Martin's fever
upcoming,
dreams.
upcoming ballot issues you guys have coming up in the fall election.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot about the ballot issues. It's more about our candidates, but I bet they'll be posting about ballot issues.
The one I've heard about is there's one on the ballot out there for the right to have gas stoves and grills. And I'm going, okay, I understand why this is happening because we have a bunch of lunatics who are against natural gas in the Capitol. But at the same time, it shouldn't have to be stated, but because it is, it should be a slam dunk, yes.
It's Colorado, has to be stated. So trying to get this back to where people were coming for the parliamentary stuff. So LPCO.
We're done being out of order.
I'm sorry?
We're done being out of order.
Yeah. We're done being dilatory and not germane. So the background of this is LPCO just had its elections, nominations, whatever we want to call it, for the bylaws committee and the platform committee for next year's convention. Okay. And this is going to focus on bylaws because this is where the issue came up on the bylaws committee. So there's the board has appointments, our county affiliates have appointments. So we had this group of people and the board appoints the chair.
Okay.
And I'm going to preface this, and people can believe it or not believe it. They could believe that some of what I am saying is sour grapes and not believe what I'm going to say next, and that's fine. I really don't care. So 2 people expressed interest in being bylaws committee chair, myself and Keith Laube. Keith Laube is the LPCO chair. The board voted and made Keith Laube bylaws committee chair. After that vote, I was like, why the fuck did I even put my name in? Not because I was mad that I didn't get voted in. I think they inadvertently saved me because I actually don't want to do that. Why did afterwards I was like, was I having temporary insanity? I remember writing those reports and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to sit down in the audience and be able to, I love floor work. I'm like, yeah, no, thank you for not electing me.
Share those reports. I know what you mean.
Yeah. And Jack is right here. I want to put this. It's not on the screen. Oh God, it's
top, but you can't. It's hard to read.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to change that. But he said, I watched the last LPCO board meeting. I don't think they like public comments a lot. Ain't that the truth? This is why I said at the LNC meeting. So what LPCO is doing now, Mike, is they're putting public comments at the end.
Aye.
So what happens is I come to the meeting. I had one comment to make that was positive. It didn't have anything to, but when they make you sit there and tell you we're ending at 9 no matter what, whether you guys got to comment or not, you sit there stewing the whole meeting. That's why I said to the LNC, allow public comment, because people come to the meeting thinking they're mad at you. But if you don't let them comment, they're going to fucking know they're mad at you. So by the end, Daniel Lutz and I are just seething,
Yeah. Because the other thing that does is that it creates an enticement to run out the clock.
And how do they know if a member doesn't have good input on something that they're going to be discussing on the agenda?
Yeah. I mean,
they don't have a public email list anymore. There's no one email where you can email the entire board. So they're insulated from really interacting with the membership.
Which is not the way in the railroad.
Yeah, I don't have beef against them. I'm really not that involved. But it really it was irritating, and I do hope they change that.
Yeah.
But so I dodged a bullet. So this isn't sour grapes about not getting bylaws share. I should never have put my name in. But there is an issue with the party chair being the bylaws committee chair. There's a big issue with that. There's a parliamentary issue, and that's what we're going to end up talking about. But I think there's also...
Laid the foundation, now we're going to get there.
Yeah. I think there's also, though, a perception issue or a propriety issue. That might not be the right way to word it, because I'm not trying to imply wrongdoing or anything. But I know if I were a member, I would think the party chair, being the bylaws committee chair, puts the finger on the scale. The bylaws committee is supposed to be separate from the governing board, at least in Colorado. I know some state parties are organized a little different, but here it's always been, I don't know. I let's just say in 10 years, and you may have a different experience, in 10 years that I've been involved in the party, actually, it's been 12 years now. Holy shit. In the 12 years I've been involved in the party, I've never seen a party chair be the bylaws committee chair.
In my 26 years, I've never seen it either. And I personally don't think that any member of a board, whether it's a state board, a county board, the LNC, should be on a bylaws committee ever. Why? Because that's the equivalent of the fox guard in the hen house.
But let's be fair, LNC members per national bylaws are allowed to be. Same thing in Colorado. But there's just something not right about the party chair being bylaws committee chair.
Right.
And also, let's say I really did want that position.
Plenty to do besides that at the very minimum.
Exactly. That's why in my commentary for the LNC meeting last night, Jonathan McGee is fantastic. When I gave the 3 LNC members I wanted to be elected to the COC, I did not include Jonathan because he's going to be convention secretary.
And he's got plenty to do with that.
Yes, and you're already on the committee ex
you
officio.
Well know.
Yes, and he'll already have input on the committee ex officio. Yes. So I disagree with that.
He will have input on the committee through me too.
Yeah. So it's not about persons. It's just
roles.
It's about roles. And let's say I really afterwards was upset I didn't get the position, which I really wasn't. And Wayne didn't know I was going to put in for it. I think he was kind of irritated I did, and he was really glad I didn't win. But let's say I really did afterwards go, oh my God, I really wanted that. How does it look for a board chair to put their name in against a volunteer in a party that is struggling to find volunteers, and then the board elects their own chair that's the party chair? How is that not a shitty look?
It's not a good look.
It's not a good look at all, and we're struggling to find volunteers. But again, I'm happy I didn't get it. There were other qualified people, but no one else was put their name in. But it is what it is now.
In contrast, I mean, the other night I got elected to the COC, and immediately they're like, "Oh, discussion of chair." And Evan, to his credit, said, "Is anybody who just got elected don't want to be under consideration?" And I'm like, "Yeah, definitely not me," because for one simple argument, I wouldn't have the first clue on how to chair that committee. And that's one thing. And the other thing is this, and I'll say it directly: Paul, who got elected chair, he has a plan.
And he's in that state.
Exactly.
Like
so, to me, no problems. And my logic is I'm there for specific purposes, and chairing the committee and being the secretary of the committee are not it. So
there's now, though, but there's also a parliamentary problem with the party chair being the bylaws committee chair. And why is that? It's because the party chair chairs.
Let me answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe monopolize all the talking. No, it's very simple, because if the committee chair is presenting a report, and then somebody from the assembly, from the group, the convention, the delegates, whoever, raises a point of order or makes a motion, then the chair has to change hats to be ruling on that accordingly, and they have a position where they want to proceed with the report, but they also got to be impartial in dealing with all that type of stuff at the same time, and that creates a problem. So it's better to not have the same person do the same thing, but both of them at the same time.
And this happens a lot in Colorado because we have very strict notice requirements in Colorado as compared to other states. So say somebody moves an amendment and he really doesn't like the amendment because it just changes the intent, or it changes it in a way he doesn't like. Somebody raises a point of order that it's outside scope of notice. He doesn't like it. You're not going to say there's not a personal bias to go, yes, the point of order is well taken.
And the whole point of the chair is to administrate and preside, not induce that bias into the discussion.
Exactly. But when I was first looking at this, because we started our bylaws committee discussions, and I raised this in our discussions, I'm like, listen, I'm going to bring this up now. There's an issue here. And y'all could think this is sour grapes if you want. We need to pick someone else on this committee to present the report. And let me say right up front, I don't want to do it. So if you're thinking this is about me trying to get it, because after my bout of temporary insanity, I was thinking to myself, I don't want to present a report. I want to sit my ass down. I probably want to have a drink or two. I don't want
to
any
argue
of
the
that.
floor, not be up there being the scribe.
Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I'm just so used to volunteering that it just happened. And no, I don't. I almost volunteered to be on the convention committee too, and I got over that really quickly. No, ma'am. Yes. Yeah. Oh, not national. I had no temptation there. Okay.
Yeah. But where are you guys having your convention next year anyway?
I am really not involved in Colorado. Yeah, I have. I don't even know if they picked a site. I don't know.
Okay,
I couldn't tell you
'cause
who.
I haven't heard a thing either, and nobody's actually asked me about it yet. So that's what I was wondering, if looking for some intel.
Yeah, I have no idea. So when I was first researching this, I went to 51.8, which is a weird section in Roberts, and it made me think, and I'll explain why. It made me think that maybe even though I don't like the look, maybe under Roberts it is allowed for him to be the presenter. And let me explain why. I want to read this whole section.
For
A
for
report.
context, folks, 51 is about reports of boards and committees.
Yes. So this is the section presentation and reception of reports. A report of a board or committee to an assembly is presented at the proper time by a reporting member of the board or committee. For the report of a board whose chairman is also the presiding officer of the assembly, which is going on here, but this isn't a board, the secretary or another one of its members acts as a reporting member. In the case of a committee, the committee chairman is the reporting member unless, because he does not agree with the report or for any other reason, he does not wish to give it, in which event the committee chooses another one of its members. So this in isolation seems, because it's specifically called out for a board, if the chairman of that board is also the chairman of the assembly, someone else has to report. And the fact that it didn't call that out for a committee led me to believe that it's okay for the presiding officer of the assembly to give the committee report. Do you see how I thought that?
You didn't bring this up to the RONR boards, did you?
Not yet.
Okay, I haven't been on there lately.
No, I haven't. But
I
just
took a walk away from it after the convention. So
yeah, but just reading that, because you always think, well, it called it out in this one place and it didn't in this. It seemed to me, though it was very unintuitive with the impartiality that's required of the chair, but I was like, I might not like it, but it seems like Roberts allows it. Now, I've since changed my mind on that, but I called Mike after this. And because I discussed what was going on, and I'm like, but Roberts allows it. Isn't that weird? But I think
and I said, yes, that is weird.
Yeah, but I think I'm wrong now. And I think I'm wrong. Let me find my notes, because it's something I read in the most recent issue of the National Parliamentarian, which I'm sure you got. There was one really just brief reference having to do with this. And I can't remember. I have it 4712.
Okay. Going in my digital copy here.
And if you wanted to read that section.
Hang on. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. Yeah, I'll read it off. The practice in some organizations of permitting the chairman of a committee to preside over the assembly or put questions to vote during the presentation and consideration of the committee's report violates numerous principles of parliamentary law relating to the chair's appearance of impartiality and the inappropriateness of his entering into debate, not to speak of the regular presiding officer's duty to preside, see 47:5-7.
Right. So even though this isn't exactly on point,
Isn't that kind of what I just said?
I'm sorry?
Isn't that kind of what I just said a few minutes ago?
Yeah, it's not exactly on point, but it is on. It's not exactly on point, but the rationale behind this applies in this situation. What they're talking about is something I have seen. I've seen it way too many times. Is when it comes time for the bylaws committee chair to give their report, the presiding officer goes and sits their happy ass down, and they just let the committee chair put the motions, take the votes, and that's completely improper.
And to be fair, that's happened in the past in Colorado, because at one point a few years back, I don't remember if you were around for this one or not. We had one of our very first speed rounds on I think it was Platform, and literally the chair handed me the gavel while I was presenting the report, and we were going at mock speed, which was kind of weird at the time, but in retrospect, it was the wrong thing to do.
But we all learn. We've all I could tell you all kinds of things I messed up. But
Oh, yeah.
speaking of speed runs, we did it the right way in Reno when we did the speed run on convention. If you remember, Ken Molman was standing right here, and I
Yeah.
gave the proposal, I gave the rationale, I stepped back. Ken slid in. He put the question, it was up or down. He stepped back. I gave the next one. We did a speed run, and we did it the right way in Reno.
One of the things that's going to happen in El Paso, because I will insist upon this with the COC, is they're going to finally get 2 freaking podiums up there like they're supposed to.
We did that in one convention. Was it DC?
DC after I screamed bloody murder over it.
Yeah.
I also raised hell over in Grand Rapids and never got a second podium up there. And I'm like, no, we need a second podium.
I was ex officio on COC for both DC and Grand Rapids. And I told them in the beginning of Grand Rapids, but Pat Ford basically threw everything that I had said before I resigned the LNC out the window.
Don't get me started on Pat Ford in Grand Rapids.
And George Phillies freaking edited one of my comments. If you wanted to not approve it, that's fine. But I posted that Pat Ford rat fucked the convention agenda, and it got edited to rigged. Those 2 words mean something entirely different. I didn't say he rigged it, because that makes it sound like I think he was trying to manipulate a result. No, I don't. He just rat fucked it.
He did it up badly.
Yeah. And so I really don't appreciate that comment getting changed that way. Maybe it was autocorrect and George didn't do it, but I'm pretty sure I double checked that I said rat fucked and it didn't get changed.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yes. So the principle. So the principle still. I'm sorry.
Well, 4712 cross-reference 47.5. Here's what 47.5 says. Talking about presiding officers. Specifically about the chairman or presiding officer of the assembly. The same term also applies to the presiding officer stationed in the hall from which he or she presides, which should not be permitted to be used by other members as a place from which to make reports or speak in debate during a meeting. See 4712. In assemblies where committee chairman or others will require a lectern for the papers, another lectern on the side of the platform or the floor should be provided. In other words, if you're the presiding officer, you're the chair. This is my podium, and you can't have it.
Yeah, we did it right in DC, and that's the only time it's been done right. But
I scream murder about them. Where's the second podium? Yes,
we've done it right several times in Colorado, though. It wasn't right last convention.
We keep complaining about it.
Yeah, it wasn't right last convention, but again, that was under the control of the past board. I'm not on who's. I'll probably bring up in public comment at LPCO.
Alabama one, we'd only had one podium to work with, so we had to make do. But
But then there's something else that comes into play, because so now we have this problem where the presiding officer of the assembly should not be presenting the committee report. But what about Keith turning over the gavel to Doug, our vice chair, and then presenting the committee report? Before I give you a reference, I'd like to know your thoughts on that.
Well, okay. Off the top of my head, from a pure procedural perspective, that does remove the conflict between the presiding officer and the committee chair presiding and the bias induction issue we talked about. But I got a funny feeling there might be something a little more nuanced to it than what I'm seeing.
There is, because at first I thought so too. Let me give some additional context, which you would know, but our listeners wouldn't, because you just know Colorado. Yeah. Some state conventions, they maybe have 1 or 2 bylaws amendments. And if that were the case here, I think it would be fine. But we're probably going to at least have 12. And I think that's probably being on the low side.
Load. That's a moderate load.
All right. It's not 1 or 2. It's the bylaws report is probably going to be a couple hours long. We're not talking about quick in, quick out. So if we go to 4329, where it talks about passing the gavel. And there's just one sentence I want to read out of here. It says, on certain occasions, which should be extremely rare, the presiding officer may believe that a crucial factor relating to a question has been overlooked and that his obligation as a member to call attention to the point outweighs his duty to preside at that time. To participate in debate, he must relinquish the chair, and in such a case, he turns the chair over to, and would be the vice chair here. But it says these should be rare. Planning to do that for 12 questions at a minimum is not rare. Turning over the gavel for 2 hours is not rare. Turning it over for a question or two, like Nick did, was it 2018 when he wanted to debate, was it the immigration? No, the torture, the torture amendment, the anti-torture amendment.
Yeah.
So it would not be proper, I don't believe, for him, for the entirety of the bylaws report, to turn the gavel over to Doug. Now, it would be appropriate if the committee assigns another reporting member, he's presiding, and one of the proposals he brought up, he really wants to debate, just one of them, he allows Doug to preside for that one question while he goes down to the floor.
And that is something that Paul Darr did with Chuck Moulton on the last bylaws committee. Was there was an arrangement, there was a specific proposal that Chuck was championing that Paul didn't agree with, and Paul said, okay, it's your baby, you present it. And that worked out nicely. But I want to point out something about this passage, though, okay? The sentence right above, before what you just cited. Normally, especially in a large body, he should have nothing to say on the merits of pending questions.
Exactly.
That's the key point, because they're supposed to be presiding and impartial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is why the chair normally doesn't vote on things, is because unless they're to force or to break a tie. On certain occasions, which should be rare, right? Maybe a crucial factor related to such a question may be overlooked. An obligation to call attention to the point overlooked.
Right. It's not even a debate.
No, it's not.
I'm kind of being a bit more generous. I'm trying to give every benefit to the other point of view. But you're correct. In a large body, but traditionally in the LP, we have had chairs debate one question.
The way that reads, though, it's the way that reads, you could very easily interpret it to say that the chair presides, except for occasional situations where the chair has a point of order to raise, at which point they hand off the gavel to raise the point of order. But here's the punchline. Okay, it says to participate in debate, he must relinquish the chair, and in such case, turn the chair over to vice chair, et cetera. But then after below that is A and B. The presiding officer who relinquished the chair may not return to it until the pending main question has been disposed of.
Right,
Which
the
means
main question.
To raise a point of order, they got to give it up, and they can't just take it back immediately.
No, they can't. No. And if he knows, or he now doesn't mean specifically LPCO, it means any chair, and I'm just using the he. Yeah. Feminists don't get all freaked out. He to mean anyone. If he knows that he wants to debate on a question, relinquish it ahead of time. It has to be for the entirety of the question, all the amendments, all the accoutrements, and then you can come back to the chair. But he can't relinquish it for the entirety of the bylaws committee report. That would not be proper. That is not rare. That is for hours.
The alternative to that is that he literally would relinquish the chair for one question, because we go through the seriatim, takes it back at the end of the question, and then hands it off again to either the same person.
That wouldn't be rare, though. That would be an abuse of that section. It said it should be exceedingly rare. And what I would consider exceedingly rare in a convention is at most 2 questions. And
what they're getting at here, and I may be a little pedantic on this, is that the occasions that should be rare is if they have a point that they need to bring into the debate to talk about it. That's different than actually wanting to debate the full question themselves.
Oh, and I don't think so. Let's because there's a reason.
It says to participate in debate, you must relinquish the chair. That's following what? Yeah.
But there's an overriding
The
reason for
section is
these
badly written
rules.
because it doesn't differentiate between like raising a simple point versus full debate on the motion. And that's where it kind of blows up.
But again, there's an overarching reason for these. It's not rules for the sake of rules. It's because there's an impartiality required of the chair.
Yes.
That's why it should be rare. All of these things should be rare. It starts out saying everything we're going to talk about that follows. The reason we have these rules is because of the impartiality required of the chair.
Right.
Relinquishing the chair for 2 hours completely destroys that.
Well, it just makes the point that in this particular 2 hours, in this particular case, this committee, the chair is not partial because they're the ones presenting that report. The way to avoid that is to not put them in that position in the first place.
Right.
But that didn't happen in what we're dealing with here. They're in that position. So the next step is, well, how do you deal with that situation in the best possible manner? And that is simply they either have somebody give the report for them, which we already talked about, 51.8, or they pass off the gavel, which is what talking about here in 4329. Those are the two options.
And I don't think passing off the gavel for the entire report is proper.
The third option is either pass the whole report without reading it, or which nobody likes, or kill it completely, which nobody likes.
Well, there's another option. The other option in this particular case is for Keith to recognize that it was a terrible idea for the board to elect him as chair and go back to the board and ask the board to elect another member of the committee as committee chair. I don't know if any other member of the committee is willing. I got over my temporary insanity. I am not willing. I don't know if any other member would be. But here's what's funny. I don't know if the committee chair has to be a member of the committee. In Colorado. Isn't that an interest? Isn't it?
I mean, the intent of that was there when we put it in there.
I know, but
the actual wording isn't necessarily explicit on that point.
Does the committee chair even need to be a member of Colorado? If they're not a member of the committee,
there's no specific requirement that the chair of the committee is a member of the committee, which should have to be a member of the state party.
I mean. Here's not to make this suggestion, but what's stopping them from appointing you as committee chair?
Or the designated. Well, here's the question: does the state bylaws still have the chair or the committee chair or their designee wording in there about presenting the reports?
I don't know if that's in what is that in, I haven't looked at Colorado bylaws in a while.
It might have been. I know it's.
I thought that's in national.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe it's thinking of national, but
because it's in Roberts that I think it's in national. Roberts says the committee can choose another designee, but if it says the chair chooses a designee, that's a bit different. But
national says the chair or their chosen designee, leaving the method vague.
I don't want to mention a name because I'm not trying to put this person on the spot. I don't know even if they would be willing. We do have on the committee a qualified member who could chair it, who's done it before, and who could chair the committee.
Don't volunteer me.
Yeah, but I just thought that was an interesting question in Colorado. I'd have to look at the bylaws. There could be something in there that it does, because Roberts doesn't necessarily require that. If they're not a member, if they're a member of the committee, they have to be for state level committees, you just have to be a member. You don't even have to be a sustaining member, if I remember correctly.
I think that's right.
Yeah, to be a sustaining member, to be a board member.
Right.
But I don't think you have to be a bylaws or platform committee member. So we shall see what happens. I recommended the person who I think could do a good job of chairing the committee should at least be the reporting member.
Yeah, that is probably pardon the expression, the easiest solution, even if it's not necessarily the best solution. And the second option is if that doesn't work, pass off the gavel during that period. But ideally there should be a different chair of the committee, really. So
I'm
that's what it
very
comes down to.
tempted if the gavel's attempted to be passed off, and I'll be completely open with this on the committee. I'll probably raise a point of order
That's fair.
because
So
we're it's fractious and the whole party throughout the country. We have fractiousness in Colorado like every other state does. I think it's incumbent upon the leadership to do things clean and
of course,
completely without reproach. So I probably would raise a point of order.
how they resolve it, well, let's see. That remains to be seen. So
And who knows? Then like the Mises people hate me. So they wouldn't want to side with me, but they also don't like Keith, so they won't know what to do. Ah!
yeah, I know. Which means that you're in the right position because everybody's. We have a comment here from
Yeah,
from Gregory Carlson.
yeah, sure. If we don't know, we'll tell you.
Put it up
So
on
what's a
put it up on the chat. So
yeah?
let's see what you're asking.
And let me see if I can change the background of comments. I'm trying to look for where those settings are so that maybe we could get it on screen here.
Yeah, we could do
I
a
can't.
Q&A for a change. What you got, Gregory?
I'm going to add this to the broadcast because I think I have to change it from this screen. I hid a bunch of my screen. So there it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta change that font
Text.
color. That's
I
not
do.
real.
It's not, I need to edit the background color is what it is. It needs to be black. Edit background
Or white.
color. Or white, yes.
White would be better with that pink. Black would, I think, it'd blend in a little bit.
Let me see if did that. No, that didn't really do it.
That's more of a
So
pale. Yeah, it's not solid enough. I mean,
let
it's a
me
little.
change it. Let me change it to black and see what happens. I think this is going to work better. No,
Nope.
it's because there's a fade. And Gregory's typing out the question while I'm working
Right.
on this.
Keep going, Gregory. We're working out the technical question while you're putting the question up in the chat. So
Yeah, I can't figure out the fade on this. I don't know why it's doing that. Color. None.
well, that white fade at least was a little more readable.
I'm going to try a different text color rather than pink. Trying black as a text color.
Oh, there you go. That's a lot better.
Yeah.
It still is a little. Can you put the white fade behind that?
Maybe. And I know Gregory's still typing out his question. Well, that's. I'm going to read it in one sec. Let me just try this white background. I'm not.
We're kind of glancing at it as we go
This
here.
is background done. Background none. Color white. And this is all the messing with it I'm going to do. This is going to be as good as it gets for right. Okay, so let's put these questions up. It says this. Nope, this one first. The bylaws state the membership shall be the state chairs of each state plus other members. So does it mean the membership of the bylaws committee shall be the state chairs of each state plus other members?
Yeah, what membership of what group?
Yeah, the membership of what? I'm assuming that's the bylaws committee.
I mean, yeah, we're got to be a little more clear, please.
And the reason why I think that is because the next thing says the state chair shall meet and elect a state chair to be a member of the bylaws committee. Later on, the state chair resigns. Are they still a member of the bylaws committee?
If the membership, if the membership of the bylaws committee, which is what I think he's saying here, but
yes,
please clarify. If the membership of the bylaws committee is of state chairs and other members, then the resignation of that state chair. Well, okay, is he resigning as state chair or resigning from the committee? That's the other question.
I think he means the state chair is resigning as state chair.
Then I would argue if the membership of the bylaws committee is as state chairs or other members, then they're still a member of the bylaws committee, but that specific state would have to, whoever their new state chair is would also be a member as well because of what the bylaws state, which has a very weird effect of potentially causing the bylaws committee to double in size at least if every single state chair pulled that same trick.
I don't know if I agree with you. It's hard with just these snippets.
Yeah.
But I think the ultimate question is the initial requirement of getting elected, if the bylaws are silent on continuing eligibility. Okay, and he's saying the general membership. So I think we started out with a wrong thing. So the general membership, let's go back here. The general membership shall be the state chair of each state plus other members. I don't know what that plus other members means. The state chair shall meet and elect a state chair, which means one of their own number, to be a member of the bylaws committee. Okay. Later on, that state chair resigns. So they are no longer a member of the general membership because the general membership shall be state chairs. I don't know what that plus other members is. I'm ignoring that plus other members for right now because I
think you're right. That makes sense. The 50 chairs.
Are they still a member of the bylaws committee?
No, I would say at this point. Because look at his next comment. The 50 chairs representative elect one person from them to be the bylaws committee. Well, if they're no longer in the group of the 50 state chairs, then they're no longer, I would argue, they're no longer that representative for them too.
But they were at the time of their election.
What, they didn't maintain eligibility?
But the bylaws is silent on. Unlike national, which says that LNC members shall be sustaining members of the party, that to me is a continuing thing. They shall be this.
Yeah.
This is they elect one of their own number, who's validly one of their number at the time, to be a member of the bylaws committee. Yeah. At some point, they're no longer that. Are they still a member of the bylaws committee? I think they are.
Well, let's flip it a little bit. Okay. A member of the LNC is elected to the executive committee. Okay. And then they resign from the LNC. Are they still on the executive committee?
No, but the executive committee specifically says that executive committee members shall be LNC members.
Okay.
He doesn't give us any language that says. He says they're silent on continuing eligibility. They had to be a state chair at the time of their election, but the bylaws are silent that they have to be that. And if you think of how state chairs are, I don't know how long this bylaws committee is, but it could be a year long. State chairs.
There's a hole in those bylaws about this, definitely.
Yeah. State chairs could be, what if they get removed from office by their state? Yeah. What if there's an intervening convention and a new state chair is elected? I think with the silence, they are still a member of the bylaws committee. If there's nothing that says that they have to continuously be a state chair.
Which also raises that also means that if the I'm going to use a term here, conclave of the state chairs, use since we're the heretics in the temple here, use the elected that specific state chair to be their representative, they can also move to rescind that election later.
Yeah, they
which
could
would
remove him. Again,
exactly.
we're assuming there isn't language that says they couldn't, but the
Well,
LNC, for
would be a
instance,
parliamentary thing, right?
well, I mean, the bylaws somewhere else could say these hypothetical
Right.
bylaws could say something about that. But for instance, the LNC, I know this was really controversial, not trying to raise old wounds, but the LNC removed people from credentials committee before their appointees. The power to appoint has the power to remove. So to
Yep.
me, that even strengthens the argument that they remain on the bylaws committee, because if that general membership did not still want them, they could appoint somebody else. The person they appoint has to be one of their number at the time of appointment. So I do
But it
think
could
there's an
change later.
ambiguity, and ultimately the body, right, will have to decide. And what's Robert's ruling? The ambiguous bylaw should be amended as soon as is practicable. But I think they remain a member of the bylaws committee.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, if the bylaws specifically state that you have to maintain eligibility to be on the committee, whatever the committee may be, then yeah, if they remove themselves from that eligibility, then they're no longer on the committee. This was part of the argument we had to deal with back with the Lee Wright's case. Was in his case, his membership lapsed, therefore he was no longer a member and therefore no longer eligible to be on the LNC. And the whole controversy was not about that, but about the fact they didn't bother to tell him about it in the first place, so he could re-up accordingly.
And I could argue, though, the other side, to be honest with you. I do think this is genuinely ambiguous. But the fact is, since it is the membership that elected could remove them, they have the power, if they don't like it, to just remove the person rather
Yeah.
than declare them ineligible. And they could use the reason for the removals that they think they're now ineligible. So they're
The
thus
rationality is simple. They resigned
interpreting their
from the
own
state chair, therefore
bylaws.
we're going to get somebody else. Yeah.
I could argue both ways, though. I would have to, like, I think it really comes down to precise wording. So the
Yeah.
50 chairs elect one person from the 50 state chairs to be in the bylaws committee.
Right.
Depending on the exact wording, I mean, worded just like that, I think they remain on the bylaws committee. But if there's anything at all like national, where it says an LNC member shall be a sustaining member, I do think that's not just a qualification to be elected. I think it's an eligibility requirement to remain in office.
Fresh comment.
Yeah, and he says, well, there's an implicit understanding. So again, if there is any kind of, this came up in this whole thing with the Judicial Committee, there's any kind of institutional record that shows what's it, an ambiguous bylaw should be interpreted in accordance with the intent of its original passage as far as that can be ascertained. So if there's some kind of institutional record, an institutional memory is a kind of record. It's not quite that as definitive. It's kind of like a custom. But if there's any kind of, records from when that bylaw was put in that said, yeah, this is going to be a state chair, then I think you interpret it in light of the institutional intent. If you've been following, Gregory, we've got an ambiguity in the national bylaws where there is a quorum requirement for a committee. But later it goes on to say, if there's vacancies, the remaining members shall fill their vacancies.
Right.
Does that mean the remaining members who are also a quorum, or is that superseding the quorum requirement? Just going by Roberts, it would be the remaining members who are also a quorum. But if you look at our institutional history, the intent, each time that section was amended, all of the scenarios presented by the bylaws committee presumed it went below quorum.
Yeah. It's a really good question. That it does expose that those bylaws have a hole in them regarding maintenance of eligibility, which is the way to solve the problem. Which is really the way to solve the problem and answer the question. Absent that, you could argue either way that just because that the person who was the elected representative for the state chairs is no longer a state chair themselves, while the title is gone, does the representation go away with the title? That's the real question there.
Yeah. I mean, I can
And
argue both
you can argue
sides.
for it. I know I see that very easily because if the title if the person adheres to the title and the title goes away, then the person goes away also. But if it's the title is only the formality and the person is what matters, then the person still is on the committee.
But I think there's other factors here. So the other factors would be that right there. The implicit understanding is the way the society has always understood it is that they were a state chair and remain a state chair. That's weighty. But
Yeah.
also there's an absurdity principle that could be coming into play here. I don't know, state chair of what? What are the typical terms of these state chairs? Are these like state chairs for 5 years where there's expected stability? Or are these state chairs of an organization that have conventions every year and the state chair can change every year and the term of the bylaws committee is more than a year? Then I think there's almost an absurdity there and an instability there to require that they remain a state chair.
Yeah.
So those questions I think would come into the analysis. Yeah, see, so Gregory basically agreed with us there.
Yeah, and bottom line of it is if in this hypothetical, if that state chair resigned from being a state chair, and the appointing body of the state chairs decide that because of that they should no longer be their representative, all they have to do is rescind his appointment and put somebody else new in.
Yep, they can remove him.
Yeah.
But to me, without knowing any of the history, I come to the same conclusions as Gregory. If you pass the initial bar, then you continue if there aren't other eligibility requirements. And then he also agrees that there's reasonable interpretation with the history. So, yeah, there's definitely an ambiguity there. And here's what's funny about bylaws.
This is why the specific wording matters, really. And this is why I emphasize this a lot, and I forget exactly where in 56 it is. I think it's like 56, like 2, but it could be wrong.
What, 68, 56, 68, you mean?
No, not 68, actually. Talking about the composition of bylaws.
Oh, the tightness and clarity and that.
Yes. I've said many times that what is said there is and what is not said are both equally important in how things are worded there. And this goes exactly to that point.
Well, you've never seen it. There's a presentation I've given at some instructional seminars or at state conventions that's entitled "When Bad Bylaws Happen to Good People," and I actually use some examples of bad bylaws I've written, but ones that I've come across. And this has come up in the National Parliamentarian, and you know what always gives me Forrest Whitaker eye is when people say a simple majority. You know, I just go into absolute spasmodics because
you're poetic about it.
yeah, because with bylaws, every word is presumed to be there for a meaning, a reason. Yeah. What does the word simple add that the word majority doesn't do?
And in contrast, what's a complex majority?
Exactly. So I don't think it's a reasonable interpretation, but you can make the argument that since the word simple was added there, and it's got to be doing something that the word majority on its own couldn't do. And argument was made in the National Parliamentarian about this, that simple majority that can mean plurality there. So you don't what happens is people write bylaws and all of a sudden they start channeling their inner lawyer spirit when they're not lawyers, and they think they got to sound cute and fancy and add all of these. No. It should be only as complex as it needs to be. Get rid of a word if it's not performing any work because you've just introduced an ambiguity. And another thing I like to say because I know you're
an engineer and not a lawyer, and people forget that General Roberts was actually an engineer and not a lawyer. That drives Hahnemann crazy, by the way.
And there's something I like to say about bylaws. I think Mike will agree here. It's also in that presentation. For mature organizations that have been around a while, I like looking at bylaws without knowing much about the organization. I could review maybe 10 years worth of bylaws and amendments,
Yeah.
and I could take really good guesses at trauma that organization has experienced, because you find these weird bylaws.
And
Bylaws
that's
are,
just the way it happens a
yeah,
lot of times.
bylaws are like this forensic documentary rabbit trail, seed
They are.
trail of institutional trauma.
They are. They are. Because on the way a bylaws happens is one of two ways. Either it's something that somebody realizes that we have thought of, but even though it hasn't happened yet, which can happen, but not always. Or something did happen, and you found that because of it, it exposed a problem you got to fix. Okay, a perfect example of that, we unfortunately went through it ourselves, was COVID. Boy, did that change our mentality on bylaws because of what all happened with all that. And that's why we have things like how virtual things go on, things like that's why the special convention rule in bylaw in Colorado got changed from what it originally was to what it is now, and that's going to come back into play for you guys going into not 2027 but 2028 because of the timing of everything, because of the convention and the primary and all that stuff.
We're going to have a special convention.
You have no choice because of the timing. Mm-hmm. So, but now you can, because that's been set up to allow for it.
Right. Otherwise, the delegates would have to be selected this year.
Right, which would be totally
in 2027, they'd have to be selected.
Yeah, yeah.
It's up to them; they might do it.
And the other question is, and this is kind of an aside because of the timing of El Paso, how many other states are in that same predicament?
Oh, a lot. I did the analysis for the Convention Oversight Committee, and there are some states that, due to state, I'm. Okay, let me just get this. I'm trying to get all, because I've got so many conflicting emotions going on here. I was completely opposed to moving the convention forward after I did the analysis of state bylaws. This completely pat forwards some states. Not that they won't be able to send delegates. There are some where we're going to have delegate challenges, because there are some in which the board does not have appointment authority, and due to statutory things, they can't change the date of their conventions, and they don't have it. They don't have time, or they're not aware. You know, some of these states don't pay a whit of attention to what's going on at national. So there's going to be some states where the legitimacy of the delegates is going to be into question, or the board is just going to appoint them. And that really sucks for the members of those states.
It does. And this was something that when they were talking about moving it up in the first place, I know you pointed it out. I know I pointed it out. Specifically that was going to throw a bunch of these states into their own chaos. And I asked the question, when looking at a date like this, have you bothered to talk to the states about what their enforced requirements are by their state laws? And the answer was no. And I'm going, well, you should, because that's going to, and I'll admit, I had Colorado in the back of my head when I said that. Okay. I forget what Alabama's rules on it are, but the same, I think we have a little more flexibility, but I know that there are states that have these problems.
There are. And I can't tell you which ones they are, because contrary to some people.
I don't rattle off either, but the point of it is that they're there. And that's going to be an issue.
What I'm saying is, I did do the analysis. I had it all on a spreadsheet. But when I resigned from the LNC, contrary to what some people may think, I didn't take any records with me because, A, I'm under an NDA. That would be totally improper. Of course, who would know? But I didn't keep any of that. That's all in the convention folder. If anyone on the LNC wants to go look at the old convention folder, my state-by-state analysis is in there. But that was LNC work product. I did not take any work product with me. So I couldn't tell you which one there were.
If anybody wanted to, they could take a walk and down the whole rabbit hole and reproduce it anyway.
Yeah, but it's done. It's done.
The point of it is it's not like a huge state secret. It's just, it's just data.
Well, it took a very long time.
Well, yeah, and I understand that. I mean, I've taken a walk through state bylaws all across the country and myself in the past, so I know what's involved with it. Cross-referencing against state laws is is next level on that, but it does take time. So,
But I don't know if Gregory is aware of our controversy in 2020, and this still makes me mad because most people knew better, and then some people just were so parliamentarily ignorant that they were making a dumb argument. So, of course, Robert says that a deliberative assembly, because our bylaws do not authorize electronic conventions.
correct.
So it goes to the Roberts default that you have to be in, the same space with,
You have to be
contemporaneous
there.
isn't the right word. What's the word they use? Synchronous.
Extemporaneous, I think, is the word you're
Yeah,
looking for.
yeah. You have to be able to hear and see each other in real time. You
Yeah.
got to be in the same space. It's physical, not virtual. But people were getting all. I think some people were being thoroughly dishonest, and others just were ignorant, and said, "Well, the internet is a space." Roberts deals with that.
And
No.
Roberts, I'm one of the ones who says the internet is a space because of how the internet is constructed. Being a software engineer, I know this intimately.
Mm.
I know I'm right. We disagree. And Roberts never deals with it because they don't understand computers. They never have.
I don't. It talks about electronic and virtual,
That,
and we.
yeah, and early, if you look at electronic voting in earlier editions, they talk about telexes and fax machines. Okay, come on. The people, the
Yeah.
guys who, the authors of Roberts do not understand how to do virtual stuff, and it is beyond the scope of what Roberts deals with. So they have to punt on it because they have to acknowledge of the modern world we live in. We work with Roberts in Zoom meetings all the time,
Oh yeah. Well,
and
it's
we adapt
authorized.
well, even authorization or not, we've had to adapt our procedures to deal with that reality. And pre-COVID, Roberts didn't understand that at all. And to be fair, until it shows up in the next edition, whenever that comes out, I'm not going to sit here and say they do understand it.
I actually think they did, because there were electronic meetings before then. It wasn't Zoom. If you remember, the LNC was using Adobe Connect.
Which sucks.
And then there was WebEx that judges were using. Virtual meetings have been a thing for quite some time.
But parliamentary procedure is attached to them has not.
But when
It's
they
the key.
talk about what I'm trying to find here, deliberative assembly. I think we're going here to 931. When they're talking about electronic meetings, they did know at that time what an electronic meeting is. And what we did in 2020 until it was ratified later on, and it's even questionable as to whether we were able to do that. It was not. It was not proper.
All right. I'm backtracking a little bit because I'm going back to the previous edition just to cross reference something.
A meeting of an assembly is a single official gathering of its members in one room or area. That is not online. And then it goes on to talk about virtual meetings. So our bylaws did not authorize an online convention. Now, what people brought up but didn't really pursue, which would have been a better argument for allowing an online convention in 2020, is DC law, because the LNC is a DC corporation, and a lot of governmental authorities during COVID passed laws that superseded bylaws and allowed electronic meetings. So it came up, and I don't know if it ever got resolved that DC passed something that allowed it. That I think would have rankled libertarians, that we were allowing state law. I know DC's not a state district law to supersede our bylaws, but that is procedural law, which does supersede your bylaws. But that really wasn't pursued. Instead, this argument that the internet met that definition, that's completely wrong. It did not. DC
Well,
law may have.
And now I took a look here on the previous edition, and the wording for 930 and 931
I was looking
is
at 8.2.
well, the wording for 930 and 931 is effectively the same thing as it is in the later edition. Some minor tweaks for like the reference points,
But
but
what does 8? I'm just curious what 8.2 says.
821 says a meeting of an assembly is a single official gathering of its members in one room or area to transact business for a length of time, except for no cessation of proceedings, etc., and so on. For the modification of the one room or area requirement, the bylaw of electronic meetings, see 930 through 36.
Right. And
Okay.
and ours
So
did not allow it for conventions.
right. But again, it's a question of how do you define an area. And you ask any software engineer or any engineer in general, what if a room on the internet is a place, and the answer will be yes, it is.
Now,
We hold
you
meetings in
can't.
rooms all the time online
But when it goes on to say what a virtual thing is, it is not an area under 8.2.
That's because it was written by lawyers who are not engineers. This is why
I don't think every definition in life needs to fall under an engineering definition.
When you're talking about engineering aspects, yes, it does.
I don't think this is talking about engineering aspects. It's talking about parliamentary law.
As applied in an engineering environment, which is what a virtual environment is. I don't think
it's applying to an engineer, because also, if you go to recess, it says, during the recess, members may leave the hall or room in which meetings are being held, but they're expected to remain nearby. What, nearby in another virtual space?
That would be another tab on your browser.
But what if you go outside and walk your dog?
Go to the bathroom in the next room, or if you're.
But that room is a physical room. It's not a virtual room. It makes no. I'm sorry, Mike. On this, we're just gonna. There. I can tell you that I'm sure we could find a couple, but if you get 1,000 RPs in a room, I think 998 of them are going to say exactly what I'm saying. Now, there'll probably be a couple who didn't.
How many of them are engineers? How many of them are background?
I don't think it's required to be an engineer or any of that to be a parliamentarian and to understand Roberts.
When you're dealing with electronic stuff, you better have some understanding of what the hell you're dealing with from a technological perspective.
It goes on later to talk about...
I've had this argument with Hahnemann, and he doesn't understand the reality of the world we live in, with the electronic world. Roberts was never designed for a virtual world. The electronic allowance for it was added only in the past 20 years.
Because that's when it became an option.
But it's been in there.
It's been in there for a while.
Yeah, but all they say is that you can only do if the bylaws authorize it.
Yeah, of course. If the bylaws authorize it.
What a virtual meeting would involve in terms of parliamentary procedure. All they do is say, bylaws authorize it, go from there.
But the fact is that in that section, they talk about virtual versus this other thing. So whatever this other thing is, it's not virtual. Because they do explicitly talk about electronic and virtual. However you're defining this other thing, it's not electronic or virtual, or there would be no reason to segregate themselves. I'm sorry?
They use the words teleconference and audio conference and video conference, which are approximately 40 years old in terminology. Nobody uses those terms anymore. They haven't updated them.
But we know what they're talking about. Nobody...
Are you kidding? I asked my son what an audio conference was. He had no idea. But he knows what a Zoom meeting is.
I don't think that makes it unintelligible. Anyone can look up what that is and makes it intelligible. It still talks about facsimiles. Some people still use faxes. I'm sure there's some young people who don't know what that term means.
Well, that's true.
I bet you there's some older people, and they're probably rarer now, but maybe 10 years ago, who wouldn't know what an email was. There's some grandma out there. But
The problem here is that they make the claim in 34 the opportunity for simultaneous oral, AURAL, not oral. Make sure we're using the
oral.
right term here. Yes, communication is essential for the deliberative character of the meeting. The problem is, what the hell does simultaneous oral communication mean?
It means not asynchronous. So text messages, even when you could leave a voice message on text, the
Yeah.
person might not be at their phone and they might not hear it till 5 hours later. So they mean
Right.
to be able in real time. That's what they mean by that. They mean
That's
synchronous.
that's what Zoom meetings
No,
do
you
by
can
definition.
do it.
That's
But
how
it's
it's
not
designed.
it's not physical. It needs to be authorized in the bylaws. Now, will in the future that not be a requirement because it's going to become so normalized? It wouldn't surprise me. It
They
wouldn't
better put
surprise
that
me.
in the next edition, because that's just getting with the program.
Yeah, I actually detest online meetings.
I'm not saying they're good or bad. I'm just saying they're there.
They're there, and I think they're fine for like the special. Like there was something. Did you hear the discussion in the LNC meeting last? Was it last night already? Yes, last night. Oh my God, it seems like a week ago, where they're talking about making the regular monthly meetings. I mean, excuse me, guy, the
They were trying
the
to
monthly
reschedule.
meetings.
Yeah.
Well, besides, they want to make them regular meetings rather than special meetings. That is such a big mistake. Evan is wrong here. You're going to get ambushed with motions because once you go to a regular meeting, you do not need to have prior notice. You can have new business without prior notice. Certain things will require a higher vote threshold, like amending the policy manual, but there's other things that could just, no. It's meant to be limited 2 hours. What's going to happen if they turn those into regular meetings is there will no longer be in-person LNC meetings. Now, some people think that those should go away. I don't. But if that's what you want to do, be upfront about it. Don't sneak it in through changing the monthly special meetings to regular meetings. Because the end game of that is that there will no longer be in-person LNC meetings. And that's if that's what they want, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of some in-person LNC meetings, but there are others, like, for example, when they go to tour the convention site, that I can see the point to them. In this day and age, with airfare and everything being so expensive, and God knows all the surveillance crap going on and all those details, and we're at a point now in a post-COVID world where it's almost becoming unnecessary. But that's probably what's driving the mentality of it.
Well, there's expense.
Yeah. Okay. The comment you got up here right now: critical weaknesses of online meetings, credential critical voting. That's true, but at the same time, it depends on how your organization is structured to deal with those things. This next comment, though, it empowers people to bully the meeting, side chats to distract. That already freaking happens in physical meetings.
Not, well, there's a different kind of bullying that happens in physical. I agree, it happens at both. It's of a different character. I actually think it's more possible to bully in person than it is online. However, the side chats. That's why I'm very glad that Evan does not have chat enabled at LNC meetings. I know my opinion is not popular.
I understand that, but if you look at a convention floor, half the time you have so many side chats going on. If you want to tell people to sit down and shut up and pay attention, just because you can't hear what the hell is going on because of all the chattering going on, drives me nuts.
Or someone walking in front of your table playing the ukulele so that your deaf, your blind delegate who's relying solely upon being able to hear everything.
I was 3 feet away from that when it happened, so I know what you're talking about.
But everyone thought it was funny when it was just annoying the autistic person. Oh, it was really funny then. It wasn't until it really, really, was egregious. That behavior was just absolutely ridiculous. And it's not because Austin isn't a good ukulele player. Were you there at the beginning of the LNC meeting, right after convention, where someone just requested a song, and it was?
Yes, I cringed.
I loved it. I thought he did a good job. Was it Sugar Wall? Was that the song he played?
I don't know, but his ukulele was out of tune.
But just on the, I think Austin is very, very talented. I've heard his original music. I think he's really, really talented. But music is one of those things where people's going to have a different
He was
opinions.
lucky when he was busy doing that crap around you and Corey that someone didn't take that ukulele and smash it over his head. To be honest.
Well, I'm disappointed that
There
Nikhila
were
didn't do something
there was a
about
lot of
it.
people who were pissed over that.
Yeah, and for me, it was just really, really tweaking my autistic sensory stuff. And Austin knew it was. And I kind of suspect he's on the spectrum. So I think that was really, really disgusting of him to do that to someone else on the spectrum. But when it made Corey completely unable to participate. But to be honest with you, just because I don't even like calling it a disability, my disability is not quite so visible, doesn't mean it didn't impact me as much. And everyone just thought, yuck, yuck, yuck. That was really funny. But it really wasn't. And he was doing the same thing to me that he did to Corey. But because Corey's disability is much more out there that the guy literally cannot see, that then a stop was put to it. But nobody should have had to tolerate that. You don't go to a convention to walk around a delegation that is not yours and distract them by playing a musical instrument. I'm bringing a tuba next time, and I'm going to go and sit in front of fucking Austin Martin's ass and play my tuba.
No, tuba's too low pitched, and it's also too bulky. You need to bring a kazoo or a harmonica. Or
like
blow the harmonica through the kazoo.
a trombone. You don't know that when I was
travel well.
When I was in band in middle school, okay, and a little bit of high school.
Sorry.
I liked it, but the reason why I said tuba, I wasn't a tuba player then, but I did play the big ass bass clarinet. And then later when I was in a band, which you know that I was in a band, right? Like a real band. Well, that's a real band, but I mean you
were in a thrash metal band at one point.
Yeah, yes. Right. I mean a nightclub type band. I played bass then too, so I'm always looking for the.
So there you go. There you go.
I'm all about that bass.
So there you go. You bring the bass and an amp to the next convention to do that. Just bring a bunch of channel your inner Michael Anthony and call it good, you know.
And Gregory said he's also become I'm completely anti-chat. It is absolutely distracting, and has no
issue
place
with that in the virtual meetings. I really don't. Now it's funny. Okay, I'm going to say this directly. In my professional world, we use a lot of Teams versus Zoom, although we use Zoom sometimes too. The chat. What?
The team sound. That team sound is so annoying. Oh my god.
Anyway, but the chat there is enabled, but usually it's because we are professionals and we're asking and answering questions and putting things out there like images so people can double check something or things like that. I can understand though, in the terms of the party, disabling it in these situations.
Particularly,
we've seen how they get abused.
And particularly, we have so much commentary space in the LP. You could go to third party watch where George Phillies is live blogging. You could put your comments there. LP Alliance live covers the meetings. I do. I think Liberty Century says, "Hey, did you hear my new sound clip that I got for meetings? The shut the fuck up one." Let me see if I can find it. I got it. It's not loaded up, I think, on this. Hold on, let me see. Window. Where is sound effects? Because I don't really have them loaded up here.
You gotta put that on your keypad.
I have it for the other show on my keypad. Oh, I don't have. Maybe I don't have it here. It's really good though. Well, damn it. Hold on one second. I'm going to just give me, and if I can't find it with this, miscellaneous audio. Yeah, here we go. I don't know if it'll play.
Hey man, just want to let you know that sometimes you gotta shut the fuck up. You gotta shut the fuck up. And this current time is just one of those times you gotta shut the fuck up. I don't think you're a bad person, I just don't want to hear you talking anymore. You gotta shut the fuck up.
Hey, man. I have occasion to play that in multiple LNC meetings.
Well, there's also variations of that too.
All right. Gregory, I got that on TikTok. I don't even know what it's called. I stripped the sound and got it from a TikTok video because I just loved it. I thought of Austin Martin immediately. Okay, Mike, so you had an idea for next time. So let's close with that. What's the idea for next time?
Okay. In the current issue of the National Association of Parliamentarians, which I think you got in the mail recently.
Yeah,
I did too.
I read it.
On page 18, there is a series of questions. And it says and it's actually pretty cleverly done. Don't read ahead on the answers for this. But
I already did it though.
Okay, so you know exactly. So maybe we can make this a quiz the audience type of arrangement, where you go through each question and say, okay, put this in, put that in, or whatever, and see how it works out. You'll need to put the whiteboard up for that behind you to do this.
Okay, I've got that over there.
For the 9 letters, but then we go through those questions and see how people react to them. We go from there.
Okay, yeah, I don't have. What kind of questions were they? I don't remember.
There were 9 of them, and for each one, if you thought the answer was one way, you'd put a specific letter on a blank, and then if you thought it was another way, you put a different letter in, and you go through each one of them.
And it would spell something?
Yes.
Okay, I remember that. And I actually didn't do well on it. When I first took it in that, I actually didn't do well on it.
I'll admit I didn't exactly go through it that way because I was looking at the directions and I'm going, what the hell are they talking about? It was only when I went to I cheated. I went to the answers and then I understood what they were talking about and how to do the thing. I had to figure out, I was looking at it going, what?
There's something that in the newest National Parliamentarian that I'm going to be bringing up eventually on the Roberts Forum. I'm not bringing it up now because I just don't have the time to pay attention to any answers. But there's an ongoing debate as to when you adopt Roberts as your parliamentary authority in the bylaws, does it make Roberts part of your bylaws? You know, we've had that argument even on the JC. I think yes. I think the answer is yes and no on that. But the National Parliamentarian has an article which seems, I think it was written by a lawyer. I think I think it's claiming legally it doesn't. And it's on the article on proxies where it says that if a law says that proxies are allowed, unless your bylaws specifically prohibit them, you must have a specific prohibition in your bylaws. But if you've adopted Roberts specifically prohibits them unless your bylaws or the law specifically allows them. So doesn't adopting Roberts specifically prohibit it, and you still need an...
Yeah, it goes to the question of hierarchy in terms of the adoption. And I think that's where the real question lies. Because how many times have we gone through it and like, oh, we have the different levels of the charter, the Constitution, the bylaws, the special rules of order, Roberts and custom, and all those details, which, they talk about obviously early on in Roberts. Though there's a hierarchy attached to it. And that's where people get a little bit of confusion because they say, well, there's nothing on this in the rules, therefore we revert to Roberts. And it's like, okay, fine, but where's that granularity border at? And that comes up for a lot of discussions, both on those.
But Richard has told me this has been a constant battle. That I think he said Hahnemann takes the position it does make it part of your bylaws, and I think again it does, and it doesn't. And when it comes to state law, if state law is allowing something, unless your bylaws prohibit it, you actually do have to have a statement in your bylaws, and you can't rely upon a prohibition in Roberts. Because state law is of greater authority.
True, but here's the problem with Hahnemann's position on that. If the bylaws are incorporated in Roberts at the same level as the bylaws, then you have bylaws in the nature of the rule of a rule, which can't be suspended, but Roberts allows for the suspension. You have a contradiction in terms.
No, a bylaw in the nature of a rule of order can be suspended.
No, it can't.
Yeah, no, it specifically can.
Why do you think Matt specifically tried to get all those out of there in the first place?
No, just so people wouldn't get confused. Bylaws in the nature of a rule of order can be suspended.
I don't think so.
Okay, we're going to look this up right now because I am 100% positive. You're going to owe me, you're going to have to owe me something next time we see each other. You're going to owe me a drink. Let me find, it's in the first few pages. Matson wanted to make it, where?
25-7.
But there's one, there's a reference earlier.
25-7. 25-7.
I'm going there.
You're talking about 214 is with the early one.
Yeah. Rules contained in the bylaws cannot be suspended no matter how large the vote in favor of doing so, blah, 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 unless the particular rule specifically provides for its own suspension or unless the rule is properly in the nature of a rule of order. So bylaws that are properly in the nature of a rule of order can be suspended. We do it all the time. There's some rules that can't be suspended. Like if your bylaws say that a ballot vote is required, you can't suspend that.
But that's also a rule of order.
It makes certain it does make certain carve outs.
Yes, it
and
does.
Just saying that's one of the carve outs that it gives. But so that's a specific that overrides the general. But the general rule is let me let me give you something that's going to blow your mind that used to upset me until I understood something. The National Party bylaws that say that the statement of principles cannot be amended except by a 7/8 vote of all registered delegates at convention. Is that a bylaw in the nature of a rule of order?
I would argue maybe it is.
It is.
Yeah.
So it can be suspended.
But same token, there's a double padlock, which says you can't suspend that unless you have another 7/8.
It doesn't say. It says it can't amend it. It doesn't say you can't suspend it. But I've got a better protection for you. Mm-hmm. You're going down the wrong trail. So do you agree it's a bylaw in the nature of a rule of order?
Because it has a specific amendment threshold attached to it, I would say yes.
Yeah. Okay. Which means it can be suspended. Now, what other requirements come in just without attaching that? Because of that, it can be suspended. But you want to know what protects it anyway, why it doesn't matter? Because a rule that protects a minority of a certain percentage cannot be suspended in face of a negative vote that is at least as large as the minority it's intended to protect. So even though it is suspendable, it's only suspendable by a 7/8 vote of all registered delegates.
We had that discussion somewhere else, and I think it was in the alliance bylaws. And the problem, the way that's worded is really confusing, but it does convey eventually, once you think it through, exactly what in the hell they're trying to do there, which is to protect that minority.
Yeah,
they would do well in the next edition to give an example of that, rather than just. And that's one of the areas that Roberts fails a lot of. They have examples in some areas, but they woefully lack some in others where they could really clear some of their weird language up if they wanted to.
I found some old national minutes. What year was it? I think it's 2010. I don't know. I was talking in the historical committee about it. You probably were at the convention where they
St. Louis.
I don't remember where it was at because I don't remember what.
St. Louis. 2008 was Denver.
I don't remember which one it was, but when I say what happened, you might remember.
Okay.
I could find it on LPD if I needed to. they tried to amend the statement of principles to remove the cult of the omnipotent state language.
That was in St. Louis.
Which is
in
what
2010.
year? Okay.
2010.
You know that failed by only 8 votes?
I know. I was one of those people who voted against it.
Yeah. The minutes are incorrect, or the credentials report update wasn't put in there. But there isn't even, when I say minutes, I'm putting minutes in quote. The secretary didn't do minutes of that convention. You want to know what were considered the minutes? A live blog on the National Party website is what is the minutes. And it could be that the updated credentials report wasn't in this update, this summary, because they're not really
why.
minutes. What? You
I know why.
Why?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Because the secretary at that convention was retiring after that convention, and it was in his own town, and he was half blitzed the whole time.
Well, going by at least the latest credentials committee report that was in this live blog, which again might not have been updated, but going by those numbers, it only failed by like 8 votes, which is freaking scary. But there was only like 300 and something delegates at that convention. There was 100 alternates that weren't seated as delegates.
Wait a minute. No, there was more than that in St. Louis.
Then hold on.
There was a hell of a lot more than in St. Louis.
Let me find on Elpedia, because that might not be the year I'm talking about. I'm going to go to Elpedia.
We remember getting our wires crossed here, because in St. Louis, they literally had, on the fly, they had to put in more tables, classroom style, at the first day of the convention, because they didn't have enough, because more people showed up than they anticipated.
Well, I'm gonna try to find for you convention. I'm looking for updates that I did to Elpedia. It was 2010, and was it? No, wait, it might not be. Hold on, that wasn't me. Looking national. Oh, maybe it was 2004. I'm trying to find. There's a lot of people have done updates here. Minutes and no. We're going way back. 1998.
Oh, okay. That's long before my time then.
1998. So I want to pull up this file and take a look at it. Where was it? Doesn't even
way, David,
say here.
Did you know that David Aiken's a featured article on the cover for Elpedia right now?
Yeah, because I'm the chair of the committee that handles Elpedia.
Because you put it there.
Yes. Yes, I know.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, so I want to find where this was tried. So yeah, this is 1998. So this is way back. Statement of principles. So there were 387 delegates there. And there were 331 yes votes.
Good grief.
And I think it required 339 or somewhere around there to do it. So it barely failed. That is freaking scary. But in a convention of 387 delegates. They tried to do something like that in St. Louis too, and it never got. They've tried to do it a bunch of different times. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, and Gregory says so. Next week, I don't think I have something different on Sunday, unless the LNC calls some kind of special meeting. You do?
Yeah, we're having our first convention oversight committee meeting on Sunday night.
Oh, so we can't do the quiz next Sunday?
Probably not next Sunday, no.
And Sunday after that, I'm going camping. It's the LPCO camping trip. Is that Labor Day? Is that Labor Day weekend? The next weekend after that? Because whenever Labor Day Labor Day weekend is, Wayne and I are going out of town.
That is 2 weeks from today. Yes, this weekend.
Well, our next show, don't do the quiz, Gregory, and then you'll have to show up at our Cult of RONR, which is always Sundays at 8 when we do it. Okay, it's late for you, dude. I've kept you up way past your bedtime.
I've been well caffeinated because I was inhaling iced tea this afternoon while mowing the grass. So.
Iced tea, okay.
No, it was literally iced tea. Milo's unsweet iced tea, add sugar and lemon. Milo's is an institution out here. Okay, everything that is sweet tea in this in this area is Milo's. They have sweet tea, they have unsweet tea, which you can find in certain places. They have their lemonades, which is actually pretty good. They have strawberry lemonade and a few extra sweet tea too, which is designed to make you hyper until the next millennium.
It's probably going to be a bit before we can do our next show then, Mike, because Labor Day weekend, and
Right,
then the LNC changed their special meetings to the second Sunday, which would be the weekend after that. So I think we're looking at the third Sunday in September.
Which we could probably do.
Yep. So that's where we're going to be, at the third Sunday next September, and we'll probably have other topics too by then. All right.
Hold on. You mentioned earlier about that shut the fuck up one.
Yeah.
Well, I got one here that I want to throw out there for people to recognize. This is also on YouTube.
I don't know if it won't pick up your computer audio because it's the way this eCam is.
Oh.
Mine has system audio that is an input into my soundboard.
Can you hear that? Okay. Go on YouTube and look for Thomas Benjamin. I've no more fucks to give.
Oh, I think I've heard that.
And for the audience, if you haven't, go find it and prepare to laugh your ass off, because it is absolutely hysterically funny. Because it sums up a lot of days.
And Gregory says he'll attend if he can remember. And I'll try to reschedule it ahead of time so that people get notifications as well. But I would say it's a good. I've got to get up early for work tomorrow, as you know. So I know I'm past your bedtime. I'm sorry.
So that'd be the 20th is what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll get that scheduled, and we'll talk then.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, we had a lively meeting with a couple.
Of course, but that's what makes it.
All right. Have a good night, y'all. Bye-bye.
And remember, kill the flocks.
Oh, God. Yes. Go flock yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's hear the opposition side. Like a stubborn donkey's bray. All opposed? You say nay. Opposed. Opposed. The motion carries anyway.